Now we'll discuss transient response of simple current mirror. Transient response, which normally gives information about how well the circuit performs under AC signals. That is, whenever varying signals are applied, how perfectly your circuit is going to be working. How to determine the transient response? For transient response, we'll apply a setup, and from that one we are going to calculate transient response. So normally transient response, you might have heard many times. In control systems, you have studied two important analysis. One unit as time response analysis, the other unit is nothing but steady state response. Time response is normally deals with transient response, and steady state analysis is going to be giving about the frequency response. In that one, transient response, what means by transient? Transient implies nothing but the response what you will get when a sudden change is going to be applied for a circuit or for a system. Let us for example, if you are going to ride a bike, the bike is going to be riding and suddenly you need to press brake. Whenever you press brake, is it instantaneously stops, or it will go through some distance and then it stops? First the speed reduces and later it will stop. That is nothing but some time elapses after you are pressing a brake, and some distance it passes through. That is nothing but it is treated as that duration is treated as transient. If that duration is very small at that time, that mechanism of brake is working very well, that is towards ideal. So transient is nothing but the unnecessary change what you are going to get when a input is applied, that has to be very small. One more example, if you are going to be looking at the top, normally fan is there, switch on the fan and it is at highest number, so it has to rotate very well, it has to go with very fast, but initially start slowly and it will come to steady state of highest speed after some time. If it is achieving it very quickly at that time, it is the ideal case, that is nothing but transient response is coming towards zero. So transient response should die towards zero as early as possible. So how to calculate this transient response? Okay, transients is nothing but unnecessary changes which you are going to be getting in the circuit, that has to be die out as early as possible. Now we are going to perform transient response of simple current mirror. For a simple current mirror, at the output side we are placing a step response. So generally the aim of simple current mirror is nothing but it has to give identical current at the output side as input current, otherwise some multiple amounts of input current as output depending on the aspect ratios. And the principle of current mirror says that output current should be constant irrespective of voltage across its output terminals. So output terminals is nothing but this is M2, and output terminal is nothing but drain and source of M2 is treated as output terminals. Even though voltage across M2, that is VDS of M2 changes, I0 should not change. I0 should be constant irrespective of changes in VDS of M2 transistor. So we are going to be getting a change in VDS suddenly. For that one we have to apply a step input. Previously it will be at 0 volts and later the step may be increases or decreases. That will be imposing, that will be forcing a sudden change across drain to source of M2. That sudden change is going to be affecting VGS of M2. That VGS is finally affecting the I0. So I0 will be proportional to VGS, and VGS is affected by VDS. VDS is influenced by step inputs. So now if you want to calculate how much change you are going to get in the output current for a step response, first you will calculate what is the change in VGS for a step response, and after knowing the VGS change, you will calculate I naught change separately. So this is a simple current mirror circuit with setup as you are applying a step input. And we know the M2 transistor is in saturation, so that I naught can be written as beta by 2 multiplied by VGS minus VT whole square. That is drain current equation under saturation. From this one, what we can say, I naught is proportional to VGS. Strictly speaking, I naught is proportional to VGS square. So I naught is depending on VGS. From that one, our objective of calculating transient response is, if you apply a sudden change of voltage, that is step input at output terminals of M2, then what is the corresponding change in VGS, and then what is the corresponding change in I naught. These are the things we are calculating. So objective is, if the voltage across the current source changes abruptly, how does this affect VGS and so the output current I naught. First step, draw AC equivalent circuit at high frequency. Then calculate delta VGS and delta I naught. For a simple current mirror at high frequency, we should consider the parasitic capacitances present in the MOSFETs. So for M1, gate and drain are going to be shorted, so that there is no gate drain parasitic capacitance. Only the parasitic capacitance present in M1 is nothing but gate to source. So CGS1 is nothing but parasitic capacitance across M1. For M2, gate and drain are not shorted, so there is a parasitic capacitance exists at high frequency, that is CGD2, and this one is nothing but CGS2, the other parasitic capacitance of M2. So draw small signal equivalent of this circuit. First of all, if you are neglecting these capacitances, at that time it is simply a simple current mirror with a setup of step inputs. Now what you are doing? We are considering parasitic capacitances since we are doing this analysis at high frequency. So that capacitors comes in existence into picture. And now you have to draw small signal equivalent of this current mirror setup. So for that one, think this is the point. First one, M1 gate or drain both are going to be shorted, so that point we are assuming it as point A, and the point A is same across voltage across VGS1, that is nothing but voltage across VGS2, that is nothing but it is also connected to gate of M2. So this is point A, this is point A, and this is also point A. Next, this is output point, that is drain of M2 is nothing but output point. For AC analysis, we normally consider the change VDD will be treated as ground, because VDD is a DC quantity which doesn't change. So for small signal analysis, if it is not changing, that will be treated as 0. So VDD is going to be shorted to ground, considered as well as VSS also shorted to ground. Whenever VDD and VSS are shorted to ground, at that time from this gate to ground there is a capacitor, from this gate to ground there is a resistor, from this gate to ground this transistor M1 can be replaced with a resistance of value 1 by GM1. Since this is a diode connected transistor always have a equivalent resistance of 1 by G1. So this is the AC equivalent analysis, AC equivalent circuit diagram for the above one. R, this is VGS. Point A is nothing but VGS. From VGS to ground, there is a resistance R. There is a resistance, equivalent resistance of M1, that is 1 by GM1, and there is CGS1 as well as VGS, CGS2, and next CGD2. CGD2 is between gate of M2 and output terminal, so that this is gate of M2 and it is output terminal. CGD2 is between step input and CGS2, like this. This is small signal equivalent of simple current mirror at high frequencies. So now answer this question. Why we are going to consider step input as high frequency analysis? Is step input whenever you are applying, is that necessary to consider high frequency analysis? Definitely yes. The answer is yes. Because step input is nothing but sudden change, instantaneous change. At t is equal to 0, you will have some value. At t is equal to 0 plus, you will have some value. So, you will be getting different voltages at same time at t is equal to 0. Whenever you are going with time is equal to within no time, voltages are going to be getting changed. At that time, these are going to be aperiodic signals. If you apply Fourier series, Fourier transform, if you apply Fourier transform of aperiodic signals, it will be converted into sum of sinusoidals of fundamental frequency and its harmonics. That is what actually Fourier transform says. Fourier transform will give output as sum of sinusoidals of fundamental frequency as well as its harmonics for any aperiodic signal. So step input is also a periodic signal. For that one, you will know the fundamentals, fundamental frequency as well as harmonics. So harmonics is nothing but as the harmonic number is increases at that time, the fundamental frequency is multiplied by that number, so that the overall frequencies are going to be increases. And Fourier transform says that one n is going to be starting from 0 to infinite. So it will be consisting from fundamental frequency and high frequencies. So you can think step response is nothing but high frequency. It also consisting of high frequencies. So we are considering high frequencies over here. This is one reason. Second reason also you can say why we should perform high frequency analysis for step response. As we know, within no time the step is changing. Within no time is nothing but t is equal to 0. Whenever t is equal to 0 signal is applied, what is its frequency? F is equal to 1 by t. So 1 by 0, that is nothing but infinite. So infinite is the frequency of step response, step input. So the frequency of step input is infinite, that is nothing but very high frequency. So we are dealing the high frequency analysis. Like this also you can think. Okay, now we will perform. We will calculate delta VGS as well as delta I naught. So this is the equivalent small signal analysis of simple current mirror. Next, and this circuit can be drawn equivalently in this way. All these four parameters are 1 by GM1, CGS1, CGS2. All these four are in parallel and you are going to replace these things. R and 1 by G1, 1 by GM1, they are in parallel, so that you can write it as effectively R parallel 1 by GM1. That is in parallel with this combination of CGS1 and CGS2. But when capacitors are in parallel, at that time that will be summed up. So total capacitance is nothing but CGS1 plus CGS2. CGS1 plus CGS2 is the total capacitance that is in parallel with R parallel 1 by GM1. So we are replacing entire thing with ZGS. ZGS is nothing but R parallel 1 by GM1 in parallel with impedance of this capacitance. So 1 by j omega CGS1 plus CGS2. After simplifying this one, you will get this expression ZGS as. So from this diagram, step input is applied to CGD2 and ZGS impedance across gate and source. From this one we can write VGS and then we can get a change in VGS for a change in step input. First we will write VGS expression for the V step. VGS expression for V step is implied that VGS is equal to step voltage multiplied by ZGS divided by ZGS plus 1 by j omega CGD2. This is like simple voltage division rule will gives the voltage across VGS. This is next. Substitute ZGS and simplify. Finally you will get VGS as this value. This is what is your VGS value whenever step input is applied. But here we are only interested in how much change you are getting in VGS. How much change you are getting in VGS when a step input is applied. So we are assuming the step is rising very quickly. Very quickly the step is rising is nothing but within no time. So instantaneously the step voltage is changing, and capacitors doesn't respond instantaneously. So whenever an instantaneous voltage change is applied, capacitors doesn't respond, and since capacitors are in parallel with resistances like this is this one. Capacitances are in parallel with resistances, so that the effect of resistances is going to be dominated by the capacitances. Now the equivalent circuit for instantaneous change at that instant is nothing but this is only capacitors are going to be existing. R1 and 1 by GM1 is neglected because they are in parallel with capacitances. Capacitances are not changing, capacitances are not responding, and capacitors now dominate the circuit. So that this is the V step. From this one, we are concentrating on the change in VGS. For only change in VGS, this is the equivalent circuit. Remember that. So delta VGS is equal to V step is replaced with V step peak, that is nothing but maximum voltage what you will get when a step input applied, that is V step peak. For example, if step voltage is increasing from minus 2.5 volts to plus 2.5 volts, by that time step peak is nothing but 5 volts. 2.5 minus of minus 2.5. Otherwise, if step is increasing from 0 to 2.5, step peak will become 2.5 only. So step peak multiplied by CGD2 divided by total capacitance. Remember that simple voltage division rule for resistances is nothing but the corresponding resistor you will get in the expression, whereas whenever capacitors are included, the opposite capacitance you will get. Okay, so this is simple voltage division rule with capacitors. So delta VGS is nothing but V step peak multiplied by CGD2 divided by total capacitance, CGS1 plus CGS2 plus CGD2. Now we are determining the percentage change, that is peak change in output current, delta I naught. So this will be calculated in this way. Whenever VGS is not changing, how much is the output current flowing in the circuit, and whenever VGS is changes, how much is the current flowing through that circuit. So now we will get the difference of those two currents, that will be treated as delta I naught. Delta I naught is nothing but I naught with VGS plus delta VGS minus I naught with VGS only. So first term is going to be VGS plus delta VGS after getting a change, and this is before changing. That one, simply the transistor is in saturation, so that I naught is replaced by beta by 2 into VGS minus VT whole square. For the first one, this is VGS is replaced with VGS plus delta VGS, and second term it is simple VGS. So after simplifying this expression, so many terms will get cancelled. Finally you are getting it as beta 2 by 2 into delta VGS square plus GM2 into delta VGS. This is change in output current for a corresponding change in step input. Step input causes changes in VGS, that changes in VGS in turn causes changes in the I naught. Are you remember? Are you checked this one? Delta I naught is a function of delta VGS, like this. So but the aim, the objective of current mirror, the principle of current mirror says that one output current must be constant irrespective of voltage variations across drain to source, that is across output terminals. So whenever a step input changes, it is changing VGS slightly, that VGS is going to be changing I naught slightly, but I naught has to comes back to steady state. So if I naught increases, it has to come back, that is it has to discharge the extra amount. If I naught reduces, at that time I naught charges towards previous state, that is nothing but steady state value. So whenever this has to happens, all these things are going to be function of time constant, charging and discharging. So what is the charging time constant? What is discharging time constant? When charging time constant comes into existence, when discharging time constant will come into existence, that we will see, and how much time it requires to come back to steady state after knowing the time constant. These are the three things now we will discuss. First one, I naught as well as VGS, whether they have to charge or whether they have to discharge based on the step input, whether you are applying positive step or negative step. Next, after knowing the time constant, what is the ideal amount of time to reach the steady state, that is they are coming back to the ideal values. So the effective resistance needed to charge or discharge the node VGS is dependent on the direction of step pulse generator. The effective resistance needed to charge or discharge the node VGS. Now VGS, if it is charging and discharging, if VGS comes back to its own value, that is steady state value, that implies I naught is comes back to steady state value, since I naught depending on VGS. So this is depending on direction of step pulse generator. First you will assume that negative going pulse is applied. If a negative going pulse, that is previously, the value is going to be some 0 and it is going to be some negative value, so the step value is going to be reducing. Whenever the step value reduces, that forces the output terminal voltage, that is voltage across M2, that is drain to source voltage of M2, will be reduces. Whenever VDS2 reduces, like this, whenever VDS2 reduces because of channel length modulation, for the same VGS, if VDS reduces, I naught reduces. So we are writing, when VDS2 reduces, that forces I naught to reduce. Whenever I naught reduces, transconductance reduces. Transconductance is nothing but output current by input voltage. For the same input voltage, if output current reduces, that means transconductance is reducing. So GM reducing. Whenever GM reduces, 1 by GM increases. So VDS2, as negative going pulse is applied, VDS2 reduces, that makes I naught to reduce, that makes transconductance of the transistor to reduce, that makes 1 by GM to increase. Effective resistance is simply R in parallel with 1 by Gm. That is nothing but, now R is smaller than 1 by Gm, so effective resistance is nothing but R. So if a negative going pulse is applied at the output terminals, the values of I naught and VGS are going to reduces, so they have to charge back to steady state values. By that time R effective is nothing but small r, sorry, capital R. If a positive going pulse is applied, by that time output terminal voltage will be forces to increase, so that VDS2 increases. Again, because of channel length modulation, for the same VGS, if VDS2 increases, I naught increases. So as positive going pulse applied, VDS2 increases, that forces I naught to increase, and that makes GM transconductance to increase, that is nothing but 1 by GM is going to be reduces. So whenever 1 by GM reduces, R effective is R in parallel with 1 by GM, that implies 1 by GM is going to be dominating. So R effective, when positive going pulse is applied, you must take it as 1 by GM, when negative pulse is applied, you must take it as R only. So the time constant at which the change in VGS discharges when positive going pulse is applied, that is tau is equal to R effective into C effective. R effective is 1 by GM and C effective is nothing but total capacitance, CGS1 plus CGS2 plus CGD2. So this is time constant required to discharge whenever a positive going pulse is applied. And the time it takes for the output current decays back to its steady state value, that is DC value. For that one, the time required is tau naught. Tau naught is treated as 2 times of time constant, that is 2 tau. You can understand in this way. Let us assume under steady state I is equal to 10 microamperes, and whenever a positive going step is applied, at that time VGS changes, which forces I naught to change. So I naught changes to 10.5 microamperes. Previously it was at 10 microamperes, now it is changing to 10.5 microamperes. The extra amount is nothing but zero point 0.5 microamperes. It has to comes back, that is it has to discharge that zero point 0.5 microamperes. For that one, the time constant used is tau, that was defined like this: 1 by gm1 into cgs1 plus cgs2 plus cgd2. And with this time constant, after how much time it reaches 10 microamperes is nothing but tau naught is 2 tau. That is 2 times of time constant is nothing but the time required to achieve the steady state value. Poor transient response of a current mirror can severely limit the performance of circuit. So poor transient response is nothing but lengthy time. That lengthy time is nothing but changing the performance of the circuit. As you have discussed initially, transient response should be as small as possible. So poor transient response is nothing but the period of transient response is large, but what we require is very small. Even in some cases, the current sources with negative feedback even become unstable as well as oscillate. So it is very severe. The transient response should be very small. It should be very fast to decay to steady state values. Poor transient response is going to be causing very disadvantages. We'll go with one simple problem. For the simple current mirror shown, determine the peak current deviation and the time it takes the output current to return to its steady state value. For the simple current mirror, assume the step is rising from 0 volts to 2.5 volts. Assume the step is rising from 0 to 2.5 volts. You need to calculate peak current deviation, that is delta I naught, and the time it takes output current to reach steady state back, that is tau naught. So for this problem you are finding about two parameters. One is nothing but delta I naught, the other is nothing but tau naught. To calculate tau naught we require Gm. Gm is nothing but transconductance. So transconductance is as well as ID we need to calculate. So we are going in this way. First we will calculate the capacitances CGS1, CGS2, CGD2. These are the capacitances, parasitic capacitances existing in the circuit. CGS1 is 2 by 3 COX dash W1 L1, and these are the things standard values. And if you read capacitances in MOS transistors in any textbook, they will give how to calculate these capacitances: gate to source capacitance, gate to drain capacitance, like this. So the formulas for CGS1, CGS2, CGD2 are given for that one. And this textbook, Baker first edition, CMOS circuit design, layout and simulation, there we are using the 2 micrometer CMOS technology rules, Orbit CMOS technology rules. And for that one these are the values: 40 femtofarads for CGS1, 40 femtofarads for CGS2, 5.7 femtofarads for CGD2. Next, beta 1 is nothing but device transconductance, is equal to K into W by L. Since the current mirror is consisting of NMOS transistors, that K value is 50 microampere per volt square for 2 micrometer Orbit technology. and beta 1 beta 2. Now it will be given as 150 microampere per volt square because W given as 15 micrometers, L given as 5 micrometers. Next, GM1 can be calculated root of 2 beta 1 into ID1. The expression for GM1 is nothing but root of 2 beta 1 ID1. GM1 when be calculated, GM transconductance can be calculated very simply from the transistor in saturation. If the transistor is in saturation, the equation is I naught is equal to beta times of VGS minus VT whole square. Transconductance is nothing but dou I naught by dou VGS. Differentiate the equation with respect to VGS. You will get it as beta times of VGS minus VT. That is, transconductance is nothing but one expression is beta times of VGS minus VT, and VGS minus VT you can express from the drain current equation saturation as VGS minus VT is root of 2 ID times of 2 ID by beta, that is nothing but VGS minus VT. VGS minus VT is square root of 2 ID by beta, as well as you can write VGS minus VT as this one. From those two equations you can calculate GM1, that is root of 2 beta 1 into ID1. Substitute those values, you will get 55 microamperes. Change in gate source voltage delta VGS from the expression, it is V step peak into CGD2 divided by total capacitance. V step peak, step is rising from 0 to 2.5 volts, so total change is nothing but 2.5 volts is a peak value. From that one, delta VGS is 0.18 volts. So whenever output voltage is changes by 2.5 volts instantaneously, at that time that VGS of corresponding output transistor changes by 0.18 volts. After knowing delta VGS, we are calculating change in output current delta I naught. That is from the expression beta 2 by 2 delta VGS square plus GM2 into delta VGS. Substitute the corresponding values. Then you will get delta I naught as 12 microamperes. So change in output current for a change in 2.5 volts is 12 microamperes. I naught will be increases by 12 microamperes for the step change of 2.5 volts, and this 12 microamperes has to come back to 0. So for that one, the time constant, discharge time constant is nothing but tau is equal to 1 by GM1 into CGS1 plus CGS2 plus CGD2. So we will calculate tau as 1.5 nanoseconds, and the time required to reach steady state value is nothing but 2 times of time constant, that is 2 times of 1.5 nanoseconds, that is nothing but 3 nanoseconds. So ultimately transient response is going to be giving how perfectly your circuit operates under sudden changes. So sudden changes we are modeling with a step input. So we are applying step input at the output of current mirror, and from that one we are calculating the corresponding changes in VGS and then corresponding change in I naught. For that one we are replacing simple current mirror at high frequencies by considering parasitic capacitances. Next, drawing the equivalent circuit. Next, and analyzing what is the change in VGS, and next we have calculated change in output current. We have done a simple example also how to calculate the values. So this is the end of transient response.